I wanted to go back again to your question, which was the mentor. I want to kind of maybe help you do some pros and cons a little bit.
Okay.
Is that the only mentor? And if you have any other questions, just throw them out, man.
Yeah,
Oh
shoot 'em out.
yeah.
I'm just
Appreciate it.
I'm just trying to. I just want to touch base and help you on the questions that you originally wanted us to
Yeah,
help
yeah.
you on.
Thank you.
Have you looked at other mentors in your area?
It's, I don't even know where to search. Like I'm looking on Indeed, going to the individual websites. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if there's like a universal, like apprenticeship website or something.
That'd be cool, like an internship. That'd be cool.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's the only one I've been able to find.
Mhm.
I've been looking, but it's hard to, because I would love to be under somebody that has
Yeah.
years of
And
experience.
one of the benefits of that is a safety net, right? Is the safety net of one thing I learned many years ago was something it's called the learning zone and the performance zone. Okay, the learning zone, you're able to make a shit ton of mistakes. It's like when you train a dog in a room with no distractions. Like they can make mistakes, it's expected, but the mistakes are going to be less because they're not in the performance zone. Right, the performance zone, you got to have your lines ready, you got to be rehearsed, you got to be ready for the show, you got to be ready for the camera to be on you, and you got to be ready to perform. Right.
Yeah.
And so what tends to happen is the learning zone, especially as a young dog trainer, the pressure of having to deal with a client and make a sale, and the pressure of, there are some people who their genetic makeup will allow them to adapt and be quick on their toes. And maybe they had experience before as like a server or like a bartender or something like that, where they're like used to being quick on
fast paced,
quick on their feet. But the actual art and skill of dog training, it gets better and tighter, and it becomes sharper when you're not under pressure. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like so like if you can learn with a dog and have a mentor supervise over you and say, go ahead and work that dog. Like, so the way I train my trainers here that work for me is, we have phases of training, and their job is to master just one phase. And sometimes some trainers, it takes them 1 month, it takes them 2 months to master that phase. But guess what? They're not moving to the second phase until they can show me that they understand everything on one basic phase. Now they don't have to see clients. They don't have to, take phone calls. They don't have to do anything. All they have to do is train the dogs every day. Okay. That's it. Feed them, take them out, poop and pee them, and train them. That's all you have to do. And when they do that, what was really, really hard, like when they first started, a month and a half later, they're like, oh, that's easy. Right. Because they didn't have to learn under stress. If you were to tell a person to learn that under stress, having to make sales, having to do this, having to do lessons, having to do all this other stuff, it would probably triple, quadruple the amount of time it would take to learn that. Now, this is the mistake that happens. When someone's learning under stress, they will naturally respond to things accidentally wrong. Right? So it's very easy for us to accidentally respond to things based on stress and maybe rush or cut a corner or cheat or do this. And the more that you have to do those things, the less efficient your training becomes. Right? Even though we got to point A to point B faster, well, you did it by fucking punching through a wall. And now you have a broken wall. Right. And so I had to learn. So like the first 4 years of my 5 years of my training career, it didn't matter how many dogs we had. I worked 40 hours. I trained. If we had 3 dogs, I trained 3 dogs. If we had 10 dogs, we trained 10 dogs. If we had 15 dogs, we trained 15 dogs. And I stayed my whole shift. And I just worked dogs. And, it's kind of like a Mr. Miyagi Karate Kid. Like, why am I wiping this? Why am I painting the fence? It doesn't make sense why I'm fucking doing this. And then all of a sudden, one day, when, you get a dog in and you're able to train them like this, you're just like, oh, I get what all that conditioning was for. I get what all of that, what all that repetition was for. Right. And the fact that you didn't have to do it under stress and you don't have to think about it anymore. Now you can put your focus on clients and train dogs with your eyes closed. You know what I mean? And now you can make sales, or now you can run a business. Like, I would not be able to have a successful business, and same thing with Corey, same thing with Mariano, if we did not have the learning zone. If we couldn't have learned and made our mistakes under the tutelage of someone else, right? It would have been very sloppy, right? And not only are we learning technique, we are learning how to handle a problem. You're learning how to explain something to a client. You're learning how to make the sale. You're learning how the business functions and works. You're learning all of these different things under a mentor, more than just training a dog.
Well, the thing is, you're learning, period. The whole funny thing, and this goes for everything. I hear people talk about this in like NASCAR and Formula One when the drivers are new in Formula 3, and it's like when the stress is on, learning stops, because every human being is pretty much the same. When stress is on, you revert back to what you know. Yep. So the goal is, and it's same for the dogs. That's why you start with very minimal distraction, because they're in the learning zone. Then you start testing their mettle once they're solid, right? So it'll be something like I need to get the dog to a point, and the young trainers to a point, without pressure, that you guys know everything, that it's second nature now. Now, when you're under stress and you revert, that's what you revert to now. Mm-hmm. You need to be there. That way, when the stress is on and you don't have the time, like you're thinking, but they have to intake information in a way that's valuable, the hole gets and you're just like, this ain't happening, you know?
Right.
You've already got this little bit of streamlined information to get you at least to the next space in time, so that you can get out of whatever that tricky situation is, you know? So it's a simple, you know, the way that I break it down to my assistant here is, you know, I explained it to them like this. The reason why obedience is helpful, because I've seen all kinds of dogs that can sit and lay down and stay and still be aggressive, still be anxious, still be whatever.
Yeah.
Is you have to consider the fact that obedience is great, but you need to go after the relationship and other elements of the dog's world, other than just what they know how to do logistically. Because what the dog knows how to do is always impacted by how they feel, just like people, you know. So you train the dog something that seems very simple, you know, like shooting a jump shot. Here, do it like this, do it like this, do it like this. And the only reason anybody cares at all what your form looks like is because if you have one job, just get that ball into that hole. I can now grade you. You did it this time, you didn't do it that time. There's now a common objective that we can both agree on. You missed it, right? That's what it is. So now let me show you a way that will increase your chances of hitting it. And we can track this progress, right? Shooting percentages.
Measure it,
and stuff.
yeah.
Right.
Measure it.
Yeah.
But you notice that there are people who shoot amazingly well until there's a guard in their face. Mm-hmm. And it's not a situation where the guard necessarily even gets the ball at all. They're just in their face. It's still a free open shot, but they miss.
Yeah.
You know, so it's interesting to watch that happen, because dogs are the same way. But then there's that other guy he's been conditioned so much. He feels that stress. Big ass NBA guards in your face, but he knows how to just like, all right, look, I know he's right there, but I already know I'm this far away. I shoot this hard. I jump this high. I do whatever. And the ball lands and lands and lands. And that's kind of how the dogs, you know, go through their higher pressure situations, you know, like taking a nervous dog through a Hobby Lobby or something like that. Is I need that heel, that sit, that down to be so solid that even though you're nervous, your focus is right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the ultimate question is, what do you want? Like,
yeah,
let's say 5 years to 10 years from now, what do you want as your, where do you want to be?
Yeah, I don't know what's realistic, but the goal is to have my own business, to be able to take board and trains even out of my own home, maybe.
I mean, I know people that have been only training for 1 to 2 years who have their own business. So
like, yeah.
So like you can have your own business. That's easy. But what kind of business do you want to have? A 4-star business, a 5-star business, a boarding business, a daycare and training business. Do you want to be training dogs from your house? Do you want to be just only doing privates? Do you want to be doing group class? Do you want to what level of business?
Right. Yeah. I'd want to be able to do a little everything. I'd want to do classes, board and trains.
You want to have people work for you?
I guess right now I don't see that far.
Okay. That's fair.
Right now I see being able to just operate it alone.
Cool.
Yeah. But that definitely would be the dream. But I guess right now it's like, let me be able to sustain myself and then go from there.
Right.
My goals for this year were to get certified. And
where'd you get certified? CPTD?
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. If you know, I know it's not really a regulated field, And I've heard that, dog trainers can be like car salesmen, where there's like ones out there that, are going to actually follow through with what they're saying.
Oh, they promise the world. And
yeah. And, I just want to do it the right way. So I do want to be certified to at least have that behind my name. And I was going to ask if you guys think that's, the best way to go. But I was going to do PDT, yeah.
CBDT, yeah. So for me, certifications have always kind of came across my face. I never did them. And one of them was specifically because of my mentor, right? And, my mentor started training back in the 80s, along with like Michael Ellis and, all the old school guys, who they started in protection work, then kind of realized the limitations of protection work techniques and kind of Keeler method style work. And they evolved into more balanced dog trainers in the 90s, which is really interesting because you hear that story happen a lot with people of Michael Ellis's generation, right? And my mentor's generation. So the idea of balanced dog training isn't necessarily supported at the present moment completely by CPDT, in my opinion, right? So every certification has its own agenda, right? And so you have to really research what that agenda is. CPDT is really, it is a positive based agenda, right? And there's nothing wrong with it, right? The limitly and what is it?
Least intrusive, minimally aversive.
Right. Yeah. Least intrusive, minimally aversive is a concept. However, how it's put in practice, like balance trainers follow Lima technically, but with our lens, you know what I mean? Right. And so a lot of times CPDT, like I took a CPDT practice test once, like a certification for it. No studying, no anything. I got a 97% on it. Okay. Sure. Without studying. This was after 10 years of being a dog trainer. Okay. The questions I got wrong were based on how they require to teach. You know what I mean? So how would you answer a client in this? And I answered what I thought was direct and to the point, and and not safe, right? And I was like, I'm going to say it like this because that's what I think my client deserves. And so I got in the 90 percentiles without even practicing the test, right? But I had trained so many dogs, and I've studied Ian Dunbar, I've studied Michael Ellis, I studied Tyler Muto, I studied Monks of New Skeet, I studied like all these people who break down, Karen Pryor, I studied Karen Pryor, I studied all these people who teach you learning theory from a bunch of different angles. So, and then I also had to teach people how to be dog trainers. So I even had to study the book aspects of it, right? So certifications are cool, but I would rather, like my pride came from not certifications. It came from knowing the achievements of my mentors and knowing that I work under so-and-so, right? Like if we were martial artists, like, oh, I studied under Mr. Miyagi, you know what I mean? It feels like that versus being like, oh, I have a degree in martial arts, obviously. Like, no, I studied under this dope motherfucker. So it's however you want to assign value. Do you want to assign value to the standard of the certification, or do you want to believe in a person's method to be your foundation? It's up to you, man. That is really an up to you question. I haven't done it personally.
Let me ask you a question. How much does that certification cost if you were to do that school?
It's like $200-$300, something like that.
Yeah, it's like something like that. Yeah.
Oh, is that it?
To take the test.
Yeah. To take the test. Yeah.
Oh, it's just okay. Oh, okay.
And there's 3 levels of the test too. That's the thing.
So like $1,000 all in, let's say.
Probably. If you wanted to get like knowledge assessed.
Right. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So I ask because it might be more beneficial to take that money and do different seminars of different trainers that roll through the Bay Area and engage with them. There's like different levels to seminars. Like there's some where you can take a dog and work with them in real time, or you can work with their dog, and kind of they troubleshoot you through a series of whatever it is you need to learn. That might be helpful.
Michael Ellis is an hour away from you, man.
Yeah, Michael Ellis is right there in Santa Rosa, right?
Santa Rosa, yeah.
Yeah. Reach out to him. That's what I would do. Mm-hmm. But as far as your current situation now, I mean, I don't really want to give you like a straight up opinion because I don't want to sway your opinion, but you know, I definitely see why it feels good to be like the ones in charge of the training in the kennel and stuff like that. But I can also see why it's beneficial to have a more knowledgeable trainer at that other place and learn from them. You know, so that's, you know, or, you know, fuck it, I'll give you my opinion, but it's just my opinion. And, you know, personally, I think you would be better served in the long run by going and mentoring with this other person, because I know it's kind of cool.
Or a mentor you like, or a mentor.
Yeah, right. Or a mentor anyway, like a better, a more experienced mentor, period. It doesn't have to be this guy or this chick or whatever the case. But I think that they're going to be better for you because, again, not only is the pressure off because you have a head trainer. If somebody has an issue with the dog or something weird happens one day, you're going to be like, oh, let me get this guy, you know, so you don't really have that like looming, what if something goes wrong? He's also be the one closing deals for you. So no more having to deal with 4 days. Let me this dog to command so this client can kind of sort of happy. Whereas this guy is more comfortable explaining to them, listen, prong and e-collars are amazing tools, but they're no joke. And if you want your dog to be trained this way, I need 3 to 4 weeks because, you know, my process is built for them to like blah, 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 blah. These are my amazing trainers back here, you know, and you guys are just in the work that you're comfortable in. He'll start you with leash work because that's what you know. Move into food work because you want to get that down before you move into e-collar stuff. But I think that I think that you'd be way better off learning from somebody hands-on, because the books and all that stuff, which you should be looking into, they're kind of different. Even Michael Ellis was saying, and he has got all those videos on Learberg, that they're kind of different from work with the dog hands-on, and you do it and you feel the stress of them not listening or the anxiety of I only have 4 days left and they're not getting the recalls or the whatever. And, you know, the real world scenario is always different. Every individual dog is different. And you have a chance to do that with as much responsibility in this case as you want, but not more, as opposed to the place you're at right now, where it's like, it's kind of all on you three. Over here, it's like, hey, listen, let me do this. I need help. Step in. You know, you've got like a safety net.
Yeah. And the part you were saying, Brent, about, you know, what do you value, whether it's like the standard or being trained under the person? He mentioned that as well. The person that I'm thinking of going to work with, the mentor, he said, you know, your success is my success. And he said, I want to pass this down. He's like, I use my method and I'd like to teach other people how to use it. And then, you know, I want to pass the game to you. You open your own business. He's like, I'm going to show you every part of the business, everything you need.
What's his name?
So what's his name? James Taylor.
James Taylor. Isn't that a guitar player? James Taylor.
Yeah. Yeah. His business has been around since 2006.
Cool.
You know, so he's been around. I don't know.
I think, is it the 18-month commitment that scares you?
It's a little bit of the commitment. And I guess I'm just wondering, am I limiting the knowledge that I'm learning by being restricted to just those 2 tools?
I think you're limiting the knowledge that you're learning by staying in a place without a mentor.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah.
And I think that I can understand that thought process too. There is definitely 18 months worth of stuff to learn with the prong and e-collar. You're not going to be wasting your time there. And again, that's just working the dog. You get to work with clients, you get to work with classes, even little things that you wouldn't think is that hard. But when you're busy, it's a different story, like scheduling. You know, there's so much in there that 18 months, I think personally, you would do yourself a huge favor. Those would be 18 really productive months, and nothing says that you can't go and do seminars and stuff on the side. You know, there was somebody who I met here when I first moved to Arizona, who his training facility, if his trainers wanted to go to a seminar of like another trainer that was coming into town, he would pay for them to go. You know, and I think that that's a smart, and if he doesn't do that, then just go on your own dime, and because you still get the opportunity to learn something new. But no, I don't think with where you're at right now, I don't think that 18 months you're going to turn around one day and be like, oops, this was a mistake. I'm like slowed down.
Right.
You know, but ultimately, again, it's up to you, you know, and I imagine things like you do your 18 months or more, or, you know, whatever the case, you learn all that good stuff. if they focus more on prong and e-collar work, I would have you focus on the side on building food work and proper markers and reinforcers with food work. That way you can transition it over. There's this, it's hard to explain, but Brent knows what I'm talking about, to where there's a certain way you work an e-collar like food work, as opposed to like the traditional way of working e-collar, just simple pressure on, pressure off. It's obviously very similar, but there's a little subtlety to it that's kind of different. And the dogs pick that stuff up crazy fast. And once you get comfortable with your food stuff and your body positioning and learning all the ins and outs of how to really motivate a dog with every tool at your disposal, then that e-collar just becomes a cherry on top, and you get to take their training to the next level. And that's kind of where you find like the really high-end trainers that do super well, because I've never really met a dog trainer that's bad. You know, they may not be great, but like they know their stuff sort of. It's more, everybody gets the dog like 80-90% there. The guys who get that extra 10% out of them are freaking infamous. You know what I mean? So it's the tiny little things that you wouldn't expect to learn that you can piggyback off of this guy's years and years of experience in 18 months.
Right.
Right.